do it, Poppy.
And then I need to hit the record button. Leighton Gay, yeah.
Jenna.
Whatever, Jenna.
Yeah. How did I know it was Jenna?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Oh. Uh-oh. Crap. I've been working on a bunch of stuff, and I had to move recordings back over to my external hard drive, and now it takes forever to get going, so hopefully everything sounds all right. What's up, Victor?
What's up, Victor? How does our audio sound? Do we both sound good?
Gonna open it up and double check everything, and then we can talk about all the stuff going on in the news and what you've been watching and what I unfortunately watched.
I almost watched the old one of that. What you text me about that you watched.
We sound good, really good actually. Yeah. I moved back over to OBS, the original one, which is what we started with back in the day when we were just recording, and I'm much happier with it than Streamlabs. Every time, like, my computer will crash and Streamlabs will just completely erase any of the like stuff that I've done for our like portfolios or whatever.
Right.
They call them scenes or whatever. And it happened recently. It crashed, and I lost everything. And I was like, nope. I was like, we're changing it up. I'm really sick of this happening. So I'm hoping OBS will continue to work really well for us. From what I can tell, it seems to be good. I'm wondering if some of the other problems that we've had in the past were coming from Streamlabs.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know for sure.
I want to say, like, when we have tried to switch to Streamlabs at one point, it didn't work too well for us, and we ran into issues, and so that's when we went back to OBS, and then at some point you went back to Streamlabs.
I don't know. Who knows? It sometimes it's just healthy to change it up, you know?
Yeah.
So sorry that we didn't record last week, everyone. If you go back and listen to 196, I literally sound like death. I was, I've been trying to edit some shorts for us, and I went back. I started at like 181, so like I'm kind of hopping between like 181 and our most recent stuff, and then like I'm trying to maybe like work my way to the middle or something like that. And I went back and listened to 196 last week, and I was like, holy moly, I sound terrible. Like, someone should have just been like, David, go to bed. It was rough, man. But been enjoying doing that. They haven't quite popped off yet, but hopefully the more that we get out, they'll start going. Yeah. What do you guys use for your stream? StreamYards? No, so we use OBS and Discord, pretty much.
Yep. Because we used Skype for a while, but we started having issues with Skype.
Dude, Skype, it sucks. The video quality is not great on there. And then at some point, we kind of got tired of having like studio lights in our faces, and then making sure that, our hair is combed, and, just like all of the stuff that you have to do when you use camera. So at some point, we were just like, you know what? I was like, we're just going to go I love like EFAP's like simplistic model for the way that they do their podcast. And I was like, we're just gonna do that. We're gonna make a version of that I'm constantly kind of tweaking and messing with a little bit. But it's so much nicer because we can get on, we can record, we can talk. It's pretty easy to turn it into a just an audio podcast. And then repurpose a lot of it into shorts or slightly longer videos if we ever get back to doing that. But it works well for us, and like the shorts model for the most part's a lot better. Joseph, sorry guys, this is a little bit shop talk, but every time you upload a short now, it's really stupid. You upload it, it has to be like when you export it from Premiere. It has to be like very specific settings. Otherwise, it will not recognize it as a short, even if it's like the vertical format, like the whole deal. It's really obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I finally dialed that in. and then saved like the settings, did the whole thing. Well, YouTube will not let me choose the screenshot that I want from the short for the thumbnail. And
Yeah.
you upload
They
it.
still do that with shorts?
Yeah, that you upload it and it says, "Oh, you can do it from the app." Well, I get in the app and try to edit it, and it's like, "No, you can't do that."
Yep.
I'm like, "Great."
Yeah.
It's like, "Thanks,
Hopefully,
YouTube."
once I'm able to get a laptop, I can start helping with the shorts. But
Yeah.
when you work 65, 70 hours a week, it's a bit hard to find the time.
Dude, I feel you. All right. Well, Joseph, what have you been up to? You mentioned to me earlier that you finished at least one thing this week.
Yes, the Jackal.
Yeah. Is it Day of the Jackal, or is it just called the Jackal?
It's just called the Jackal.
Okay.
And it's on Peacock, and I'm pulling up the. Well, no, I don't even know what the Day of the Jackal is even called, or like what? Wait, maybe it is called the Day of the Jackal.
Wow.
Oh yeah, well I thought it was just called the Jackal. That's probably just because I saw Jackal on the cover and I didn't read the top. So yeah, the Day of the Jackal. Excuse me, everybody. Yeah, that's what I get for not reading the full.
Dude, it's cool. I called William Dafoe last week, and someone was like, "Did you pronounce his name wrong?" It's just like, technically his name is William. Like, he just goes by Willem, so excuse me.
Yeah, but it has Eddie Redmayne in it,
Yeah.
and I'm not really too familiar with Lashana Lynch, who's the other
Lynch, why is that
main
name so familiar?
protagonist.
She was in
No Time to Die. That's right. I thought she was the new James Bond.
You know,
Jessica Bond, right?
yeah.
Whatever.
So they were gonna do that, and then they didn't. I hate that movie. It has like the most dour ending. It's kind of the movie's got a lot of problems. It's been a few years since I've seen it, but it's trying to do a lot, and then it just has the worst ending in a James Bond movie ever. I think.
Yeah.
I think it. Given the time, I could argue pretty objectively, like it's just sucks. And like it you know, you go see a James Bond movie, and like you don't want to leave the theater sad or depressed. And it was just sort of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's definitely, that role definitely prepared her for this one, because there's definitely like, it's just with how the character is written.
Yeah.
Maybe it's her performance too, but you know how I am. I'm always going to give the actor the benefit of the doubt and blame the writers and directors. And so like I'm only going off of that James Bond movie, and this is the only thing I've seen her in. And two poorly written bad characters, so I don't, I don't like them. So basically, what this film does is it pulls the rug out from you in a multitude of ways. Or say TV show, excuse me.
Yeah.
In the sense that, to use simple terms, if you think of what the generics of what people typically think of when they say, "Oh, this is a woke show or a TV show," those elements are definitely there as far as girl boss. Like, she makes, I can understand a character of how she works for MI6, so I'm going to spoil everything, just FYI.
I think it's based off of a Bruce Willis movie, and probably a book, because everything's based off of a book. But I'm pretty sure there was a movie in the 80s called Day of the Jackal. Sorry, you keep going and I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the fact that her character's like a girl boss female, or if it's just not necessarily that, but more so just the writing so bad everything happens conveniently. But it's more so what I'm getting at is there's some significant mistakes she makes that she doesn't suffer any repercussions for up until like the last two episodes. And so it pulls the rug out from underneath your feet, because basically from episodes 1 through 9 you're thinking, oh, okay, I know how this is going to go. She's just happened to find out all these clues. and the Jackal is the antagonist in the series.
Yeah.
He's the assassin, and she's eventually going to catch him, and you think he's not going to get that last shot. And again, anybody who's joining, I'm going to spoil the Day of the Jackal TV show, everything in it. So if you really care,
well, season 1
about
right?
seeing that,
There's only one
season 1 so far.
Yeah.
So anyway, basically, the assassin, their stories interconnect in the sense that she's trying to find him because in the first episode he kills the conservative. It's always the conservative party too, I noticed, but the conservative leader, the conservative party leader of Germany, Manfred's the character's name. He assassinates him with the assassination's wrong, obviously, for that's bad, but what a fantastic shot though. Like an amazing shot. Like and don't get me wrong, he's very proficient and efficient at his job. And they definitely try to straddle that line of like, hey, how can we take this horrible person and make the audience like him, but not like necessarily his character, but other aspects of him. And they really bring it home as far as hating him when you find out at the end, which if you didn't see this coming after the third episode, I don't know what to tell you, but to where he killed his whole platoon in the army.
Yeah.
So he could go like start assassinating and make money and everything. But anyway, so he ends up killing that dude, and then his next hit is this Elon Musk step in, essentially. And you're kind of thinking, oh no, he's not going to end up shooting him, like, and killing him. He's not going to get it because of how things transpire. And then at the last minute, he, I think it's episode 9, I want to say.
Yeah.
I don't think maybe it is the very last episode, but I think it's episode 9 where it's episode 9 where he shoots and kills. The guy's name is UDC. That's the Elon Musk step in. And kills him. And like, so he does it from a boat, right? And just to keep this simple, he does it from the boat, shoots it. Now this Elon Musk guy has all kinds of security, dude. I'm talking about security on top of security. They got drones flying around. He has people swimming with him, people on jet skis, got people, snipers all the way around, right?
Yeah.
And they when he shoots and happens to kill him, the assassin, the Jackal, packs up, gets on the boat and starts going, and it shows like a big shot of the boat, the security boat and jet skis chasing him. And it's not like, he's just completely outpacing them because he's in a sports boat. No, this was some like random boat that this guy uses to ferry people across, right? And I'm like, oh, how's he going to escape this, right? It cuts to commercial break, comes back, and it's just a completely new scene to where another character's asking, how'd you escape it? And he says whatever he says. And I'm like,
oh no.
Listen, guys, I don't need to see his hour-long trip to the border as far as like when he's in this camper this other time, right? I don't need to see the hour-long trip. I completely get that. He got from point A to point B, all that stuff. But if there's a chase to where there's multiple people after he just killed this I'm talking about high-profile person, right? And on the day of this massive launch of this new product, it's like, Elon's gonna first launch, Tesla or whatever, right? This massive product, even greater than that, and that's going to completely. Elon Musk step in was creating this AI that was going to completely revolutionize the global economy by revealing so many different whatever their little spill was.
Yeah.
And so of that caliber, right? And they're chasing him, and it cuts like that, and it's like, no, you gotta. This is the Rings of Power thing all over again. You have to show a scene like that, and I think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the editor, right? But my assumption is the writers wrote themselves in a problem they didn't get out of.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this guy's got all this high-tech security, but the Jackal's better than him. And then it gets to the point where he needs, it's like, well, now he's got to get away. And it's like, well, how do we do that? They're like,
Yeah,
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Like maybe people won't notice,
right. And here's the thing. Like
Oh, that's so
he hits
interesting.
in impossible shots, right? Sniper shots, but it's explained really well. Like they did well enough good research to where like in the opening scene, he's using a what are those called? To where it's a you have like a stick with some a plastic spinner on it, and it spins in the wind, and typically little kids have them. I can't think of the name of
Oh,
them,
yeah. I know what you're talking about. The pin, like
and he
like a pinwheel. Is that what they're
like
called?
a pinwheel, yeah, something like that. And so he uses that, and to beforehand he's measuring the distance. Then he's using that. Then he has a silencer on the sniper rifle, so he does a couple shots. And it's a modified sniper rifle, by the way, like a prototype, the only one. And
Of course.
and he does a couple shots to get the distance, but you learn that prototype, and you're like you just said, of course. But then you learn later on there's this guy named Norman who's also MI6 is trying to get, because he makes prototype guns to help not nice people with what they have to do, right?
Sure.
So at least on the sniping side, it was well thought out, but there's a couple instances with the writing to where it falls flat, like I was just telling you, like that chase. Like, okay, how did he escape that? Or in this situation, he got out far too easy. But at the end, and then on top of that Lashana, her character's name is Bianca, completely annoying. I was like, man, like, please just let a contract come out to let him kill her, because I am so like tired of a character. Well, I got my wish granted in the last episode.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, dude.
That's actually crazy.
Yeah, so and they use her family to help you connect with her as well. And so basically in the last episode, his wife is leaving him with her baby, like fleeing him, and he doesn't know that. He gets home, but he gets alerted that they're trying to come after him, and it's just her and one of her friends who's also I don't know, former agent or special forces or whatnot, and they track him and try and fight him, and then he outmaneuvers them and ends up killing both of them. I did not see that coming. I thought she was actually going to get him. I was like, if she gets him,
it's only season 1, but that's crazy that they would have, because she's
dead. She's not.
Yeah, she'd be like.
I mean, granted, you don't see the funeral, but she gets shot. She falls to the ground, and her eyes are open, and you just like, I mean, they did the whole like, hey, this.
Oh, bro, that would be
character
terrible.
is dead.
Yeah, that'd be really bad if they. Just kidding.
Yeah. But I was
man.
like, oh man, too bad y'all didn't do this in episode 3. But at least y'all did. I don't know, man. It's just like her character outside of work, great. More like even the kind of division she's having with her family, like how her work life is interfering with her home life. That stuff, okay, fine with. It's just like in the however they wrote her character from transferring that to the work environment.
Yeah,
absolutely just obnoxious, man. Like terrible character. But I do like Eddie's character, the Jackal, and the sense that he's an interesting character, and he has very few lines in the show, and he doesn't need much though.
That's good.
So his character is written a whole lot better.
It's interesting to hear you talk about it, because it wasn't my. What was it? Hang on, let me make sure the date on this. So it was 2 years. It was 2023, but Michael Fassbender was in a movie called The Killer.
Yep.
Which I liked. Didn't love, but I did like it. And he's an assassin in that. And they, as far as I remember, every time he goes after someone, they do at least some justice to how he gets away. There's specifically the one that I remember is right at the beginning of the movie, after his first one. I won't spoil what happens, but when he's leaving to get away, they do a pretty good job of showing you that like this guy has this stuff thought out. So it just made me think of that when you were like, yeah, he was getting away, and then they just cut, and then all of a sudden he's gone. And you're like, well, how did he do that?
Yep.
And it's the same problem that we ran into a couple of years ago with Rings of Power when we got all that heat for that. We were like, well, it would have been nice to actually see what happens. And it's like, well, you know what happens. It's like, okay, you're missing the point.
I could use my headcanon to acknowledge that, but when you say that the elves have super sight, super hearing, all this stuff, and you're like,
And they got snuck
well,
up on.
Yeah, how the orcs freaking get all these? Not you're telling me not one elf noticed like this humongous trench for miles? Like, well, how did that? Did they, did their eyes get blurry from, like?
And
and so in this situation, it's like what you're saying. The jackal is very well thought out, very, very patient and methodical.
Right.
And I think there's definitely instances in his writing where certain events happen that are very convenient, that they're just written to move the plot forward. So I like it. If I had to rate it, I would say probably, I'd have to think about it some more, but I would say on the low end D+, on the high end C+.
Okay. Maybe I'll check it out eventually.
And I think it's not something with the last episode that I was like, I regret watching this, but it's not like I love this, right? Interesting enough for me to come back for season 2. How about that? And see how it goes.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'll check it out then. Nothing has been catching my eye with television so far. I was writing down a list of stuff for this year.
Yep.
I'm at 21 movies, and I'm only about halfway through the year. I'm at 2 television shows. Daredevil.
You said how many movies?
21.
You're already at 21 movies?
I haven't watched them yet. This is just the stuff that I'm kind of just planning ahead, and I was putting dates next to them to try to, because I'm trying to keep up with this stuff a little bit better.
Right.
But I want to check out American Primeval. I had told you before I was like really sick though, so it was not, I don't think I was in the headspace to sit down and watch a television show. But it wasn't catching me right away. I'm so back and forth with Westerns. It's tough for me sometimes, that setting.
Really?
Yeah, it's just not my, like, there's a lot of Westerns that I really like. But it's still pretty tough for me when a Western comes out to be like, it just, that genre is not something that immediately gets me excited. So I have to, actually have to like be intentional when I go to watch something like that. So I'm gonna. It's only like 6 episodes, so I'm gonna give it another try. I've heard really good things. I don't know. I wasn't in the headspace. Though I'm sure it was. I watched. I told you this already, but I watched Wolfman. It's kind of a tough one for me, man, because I didn't like it, but it's just kind of like normal bad for me. And it's mostly because it's boring and I wasn't invested in any of the characters. It doesn't even try, because I thought, because you kind of go into it and, it's from the same director that did Invisible Man. That was quite a while ago at this point. Lee Whannell.
Yeah.
And that movie has some like undertones of like domestic violence and, depending on how deep you want to dig into it, it definitely has something to say about men potentially. And I thought we might get some of that with this, because it opens with a boy and his father going hunting, and the father is very macho may not be the right word. He's very like dominating and he's trying to instill lessons into his son to help him survive, to keep him alive. And I think, and it's weird, the movie feels kind of half baked in places. Like they had a lot of ideas for things, but like they ran out of time, or like the script needed a couple more passovers, because they do all of that and then they jump to like 30 years later, and none of that stuff from the beginning really matters through. Like there's not really a payoff for any of it, because he becomes a father. He moves away because he believes that his father is abusive, for lack of a better word, and so he wanted to get away, and he moves. I think it's New York, but he moves to New York and he gets married and he has a daughter. And he's got like a really good relationship with his daughter, which I was like, oh wow, like that's cool. Like it's not, painting him as incompetent or a massive like jerk. And they have like a pretty good relationship. There's a little tension between him and his wife, but it's not like what we normally get. And so I'm kind of like, all right, like, okay, there's kind of something here, but none of it ever really goes anywhere. And they gave away a bunch of stuff in the trailer, so I don't feel too bad about spoiling parts of it. But like he gets scratched. Oh, dude, the movie just takes forever to do anything. And with stuff like this, I like to kind of check the time to see, because it's only about an hour and a half. So I'm always sort of like, okay, like where are we now? Like, is this, or have we kind of moved into Act 2? They just kind of, the first act doesn't set up enough for any sort of like real payoffs later on in the movie, which there aren't really. He basically gets like scratched by the end of Act 1 moving into Act 2. And then Act 2 is like kind of body horror, but it's like really... The movie, it's almost like it can't... Like it's trapped in itself. Like it doesn't go to any kind of extreme or really try to do much of anything. And there's like weird scenes in it, and like for some reason, while he's in the middle of this like transformation that takes forever, he can't like talk at certain times, and then they like that's all like exposition. But and the way that they like try to convey certain things about like what's happening to him a lot, like with his family, is a little weird, and you're kind of like, what's going on? And so the movie doesn't do great in that first act. It really stumbles in the second act, because so like this is all in the trailer, but like they crash, and their moving truck gets stuck in a tree, and like logistically it was already like a little weird. I mean, like I live in the mountains, so like I kind of get how it is. Like they go off the road and they're at a higher elevation, so when they go off the road there's a bunch of trees below them, so they kind of like crash through the trees and it gets stuck. And they pick up a guy along the way that has some familiarity with the main character, and that doesn't go anywhere because the idiot decides that he's going to open the door while they're stuck up in this tree, and he falls out of the truck. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just letting you go.
But dude, like, they're in. I mean, it's kind of well. Okay, so they're pretty high up. You could probably say like 20 feet, because you do actually get...
Oh, dang.
Yeah, you do get like a shot of it at one point, and you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty high. And, the guy he's like, no, don't open the door. And it's like, yeah, idiot, don't open the door. Like, what are you doing? And it's definitely got a little bit of that, like, people do stupid things because the plot has to move forward.
Yep.
And it's not like a logical scenario. But then like that, honestly, it's really the only time that happens, but the movie's almost like too boring to even consider letting people do much. There aren't a lot of characters in it, and that's what I'm saying is like the movie almost like just can't decide what it wants to be.
Oh, that's not
It
good.
doesn't dig into the body horror enough to and it doesn't have anything to really say as like like the script doesn't really have anything to say. Like The Substance came out last year, body horror, very crazy, digs super deep into that, but it also has something to say with what it's doing. The script's got things that it actually wants to say, like there's subtext and all of that. And in this, it's kind of like, well, we're gonna do this, but then you keep thinking to yourself like, well, why are we doing this? Like why? And then it's not enough of just sort of like a stuck in the house with something that's outside the house that wants to kill you, because they're just in this farmhouse, and the thing that's coming after them could easily get into this house. But the script is just like, well, no, it can't happen that way. And so it doesn't really do a good job. And like the reason that it's all set up is because the quote unquote one of the quote unquote payoffs at the end requires the thing that is chasing them, the Wolfman, quote unquote, to basically be alive until the third act.
Yeah.
So they can't they can't do the thing where like the original thing that was coming after them, they somehow get the better of it and it dies, and then you do the body horror element where the father is slowly. You could have even done something where like the father was like so obsessed with not becoming like his father, and then like that's the reason for the transformation. It doesn't do any of this kind of stuff, and so you're watching this and it's like, man, this feels like the first movie in a while that I've seen where I just kept checking the time. Or you're just like, okay, like how, especially towards the end, it just like keeps going. And, again, it doesn't have the same, when you're making it would fall into the category of like a horror movie. Like there's certain things that almost like boxes that you need to check, and not in like the typical way that we talk about, but you need like those plot beats, the stuff that keeps the pacing going, that keeps your audience interested, that makes you want to root for the survivors, like the whole deal, and it just doesn't do any of it. And so by the time you get to the point where the wife and the daughter are kind of like running for their lives, like they're trying to survive, you're just kind of like, well, the movie doesn't seem to have any sort of like guts. So I doubt that either of them are going to die. Like I don't think the movie's got the courage to do something like that. So the whole thing kind of just falls flat. And then ends kind of the way that you're expecting it to. And by the time I was done, I was like, well, what was the point?
That sucks. I hate like watching a movie or TV show and at the end being like, what was the point?
Yeah. And and it's funny because like I've seen people who I typically agree with them as far as like these kind of things are concerned. And I saw some people that were like, yeah, it's actually pretty good. Like, people should give it a chance. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll finally watch it. And it's not very good. It's actually quite boring. And
that's how I was with Silo.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody's...
That's exactly how you feel with Silo, then. Don't watch it.
Yeah. Well, and at least this was only an hour and a half, and Silo's like, what, 2 seasons?
Yeah. It's like 20 hours now.
So, yeah, a little disappointed in that. We'll see. There's... I don't know. I'm looking at my list of movies. There's stuff that's going to be the most interesting stuff for us to talk about for the first half of the year. And as far as
a lot there.
As far as something that's going to be good,
it's thin.
It's very thin.
I mean, I'm kind of holding out hope for The Witcher.
Mickey 17 2, maybe, hopefully.
Oh yeah, I need to pull up my list.
That Ryan Coogler movie.
Memory.
I don't know if you've seen. So Ryan Coogler's doing a vampire movie, and it's gonna have Michael B. Jordan playing twins in it.
Oh yeah, I'm not.
it might be good. It's kind of hard to tell because they're man, this has been a problem forever, and we're going to talk about that with some of the news today. But they need better publicists. Might not be the right word. The team that is like making trailers and trying to get people like hyped up for the stuff that's supposed to be coming out, they gotta start doing better, man.
Yeah,
I keep seeing stuff where and we'll talk about it for sure because there's a couple things that I've got as far as like news.
I got Love Hurts with.
I want to see it. I don't know if it's really going to be any good, but I do want to see it.
Yeah. Then we got Captain America, the Brave Falcon Soldier, or whatever it's called. And we got The Gorge coming out. I don't know if it's going to be good, but that comes out.
I feel like The Gorge at best is going to be like, yeah, that was all right. I feel like that's about as high as that movie's going to reach. I could be wrong. We could watch that and be like, holy moly, we were wrong about this.
And I'm glad we were
contender
wrong,
for
but
best
yeah.
movie of the year. Yeah, but I just
Comes
don't.
out on Valentine's Day, because of the perfect. Anytime I think of Valentine's, the word that comes to my mind is gorge.
Yeah. So does Captain America. Comes out the same day.
Yep.
And
And then there's Last Breath, which has
what's
Woody
that?
Harrelson in it,
Really?
and Simu Liu.
Oh no. Dude,
And
he's
it's a true story about seasoned deep sea divers who battled the raging elements to rescue their crewmate trapped hundreds of feet below.
I saw that trailer before Nosferatu, and Justin and I were both like, nah. This is not, like, no thanks.
And then, as you already said, there's Mickey 17 in March. Then we got Death of a Unicorn, Warfare.
Oh, wait, when's Death of a Unicorn come out?
Let me tell you.
How did I miss that one?
I wish Letterboxd gave you the. Maybe it will under details.
I wrote it down at least.
Releases. March 28th.
March 28th. Is there something else?
So maybe Warfare is April 11th. Okay, so that one.
Okay.
So yeah, is Mickey 17 A24?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I know that Death of a Unicorn and Warfare are.
I never watched it. What did you see the trailer for Warfare? I haven't watched the trailer for it yet. Do you think it looks good, or is it like, is the trailer convincing enough that you'd actually like pay money to go see it?
Yeah, it was for me at least.
Okay.
I think it's coupled with it's A24. This could be your run of the mill kind of
A24 is so
war movie, but
A24 is so funny to me. It's like the studio where it's like the meme from Dumb and Dumber, where he's like, so you're saying it got a chance? Like when that comes up, you're like, oh, maybe, and then you watch it and you're like, maybe not. But there's at least I can't remember what I was watching. I was watching somebody's stream last week, and they were talking about Mickey 17. It might have been Quarter Black Garrett, and he's like, oh yeah, Mickey 17, it's different and it kind of looks cool, so like I'll give it a shot, and like that's where we're at.
Yep. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's a good place to be.
You think A24 hits more than they miss?
Oh, dude, I have not watched enough of their library to be able to tell you that.
Yeah.
I that's why I say, like,
it could be like a DreamWorks thing. I feel like with DreamWorks isn't consistent in the sense that they produce, at least when it comes to animation, like fantastic animated movies. But when they hit, they hit. Now, I will say this.
Agree.
Since The Last Wish, it's been like the trend has been up. But
did they do? Is DreamWorks Wild a Robot?
Yes.
Okay, so there's at least. Okay.
It's the last one that's ever going to be made in-house. They're outsourcing.
Oh yeah, we
China.
talked about that.
To China? No, I don't know if it's China. I'm just throwing that out. That's what I always say. Oh yeah, McDonald's isn't getting their potatoes from Idaho anymore. They're getting them from China.
Well, So I don't have, obviously, I'll probably go see Until Dawn. Oh, I don't know if I'll go see it. I will see Until Dawn. But it's gonna be most of the stuff, dude, on here. It's to talk about because it's good for the show more so than it is that it's actually gonna be good.
That David, don't you have to lie. We all know you're a secret Marvel fan.
Oh, dude,
You've been
I thought you were gonna say I can't
rewatching
wait to
the
go.
Phase 4.
I can't wait to see Snow White. I'm so excited. It's like, dude, most anticipated movie of the year.
Bro, I probably will because my wife will probably want to see it. So
Well,
don't.
oh, we'll be talking about it. Yeah. Well, it's like the one. It's like that one advantage is like she'll force you to go see stuff that I probably couldn't convince you to go see. So
I can tell you no, but with her,
you can't.
she'll
Yeah.
just be
Dude,
like,
I need to
you
just
know how many movies I've seen with you.
I need to like text her and be like, hey, you need to like tell him you're interested in going to see this.
Don't you do that, David.
Gave myself away. Thunderbolts is in May. Mission Impossible's in May. Ballerina is in June. 28 years. Okay, so 28 years later, Ballerina. JW Rebirth? What is JW Rebirth?
Yeah, it doesn't come out here 28 years later until June 20th.
Yes. What is JW? I put JW Rebirth.
Oh,
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World. That's what it is. I don't think that's. I saw somebody put up either a poll or something on X the other day, and it was like, "What are you most looking forward to?" And I think it was like Rebirth, Fantastic Four, and was it Superman? Maybe it was Thunderbolts. It was like 3 movies that I was like, why would anyone be? It's very weird to me. It's like X in the internet, so I don't know what that looks like kind of like real world. But I thought we were past the point of just being hyped about Marvel movies for the sake of being hyped about them.
Right?
And then it's like,
at this point, you got to earn my goodwill back.
Fantastic Four doesn't have a good track record. And for some reason, everyone's just like, oh yeah, we're hyped. We're hyped about Fantastic Four. And it's like, why? Like, what's the reason other than just being like hyped for the sake of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Fantastic.
Oh, how about that new Superman teaser?
Oh,
dude,
James
Gunn. I'm glad. Like I saw the trailer just like off of Twitter, right on YouTube. I was just happened to be on YouTube and I saw it go upload. Like, I'll watch this teaser. And
is it just the one of him flipping around?
No, I mean there's like it's like a 30-second teaser. But yeah, the one of him like flying and flipping around is in that portion of the teaser. And when I saw his face, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely CGI and looks bad.
For James Gunn is like, nah, they didn't use any CGI on him.
What a lie.
And I'm like, I don't know, man. Okay, I don't know if I really...
Listen, if they didn't use CGI on him, that's one shot they should have looked and been like, yeah, we need to use CGI.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like, how did that get by editing? Because it looks really weird. It looks CGI.
I think weirdly enough, in attempting to make this movie have like a brighter tone, I wonder if that's going to shoot them in the foot a little bit with CGI and some other things like that, because it's going to make typically, you want to use like shadow and stuff like that to hide those things. And so I wonder if it's got like an uncanny valley thing going on for a lot of people, and they're just looking at it and being like, like they may not be able to tell you in detail exactly what's wrong with it, but they're looking at shots from the movie. Because I've heard a few people now, they're like, well, it's like CW level. And I'm like, okay, I know it's not, I don't know when the last time you watched a CW show was, but like, it's not quite that bad. But I understand what you mean, where there's something almost like this, and maybe uncanny valley is not the exact phrase that I should be using, but there's something about it that you're looking at it and you're going, this doesn't seem quite right. Like, this seems just a little bit off to me. So yeah, I haven't even put Superman on here. When is that? June, July?
see.
Is it June?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay.
June or July.
June 25th
It's
is what
July 11th.
July 11th. Okay, so okay. Oh, F1. Are you gonna go see?
I don't
Are you
know.
gonna see F1?
I don't have. They gotta kill it with this Superman movie. I mean,
Yeah.
they gotta really
Agreed.
kill it. You know.
Oh, dude, it's gotta make money for sure. I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but that's the thing I'm most interested in with the movie. Like that's kind of top of the list. Is like I'm really curious how well it's gonna do, and what that means moving forward, regardless of it doing like really really well or it underperforming.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the most interesting stuff about Superman for sure. Funny enough, like F1 and Mithrigan 2 come out on the same day, and I think I might actually do like a double feature and go see both of them at the same time. I got to see what the run times are going to be, but I haven't done that in a long time. And the first Mithrigan has like a special place in my heart because it's just kind of this weird bonkers movie about a killer robot. And then F1 looks cool, so want to give that a shot.
I do want to see F1 to answer your question, by the way.
We'll definitely be doing that. Let's where are we at right now?
F1 is the guy that directed the Top Gun Maverick movie.
Okay.
And so I'm
All right.
interested to see his cinematography, because that was one aspect of the movie that I really did like, was the cinematography.
And then the one I ended on, it's a little over halfway through the year, but August 15th we get Nobody 2, which I'm at least looking forward to.
Yes.
We got to get a trailer and that whole deal. But we are fans of that first movie here at the Underground.
Yes,
so.
even though Universal wasn't a fan of, what am I trying to say here? Our video and
oh yeah,
try to shut us down.
I fought that one. I can't remember if I think I ended up privating that one. I went through and just I did a little bit of cleansing of some of our old reels. For future purposes, so that and they're like, dude, they're so bad. Like it's gotten really bad. I'm hoping that some of that stuff gets
change it. No.
right. No, I'm hoping that some of that can get. It's just like even some of the stuff where we are clearly, like it's clearly fair use in the way that we're using that stuff. They're still like no. And it's like, okay. And they can, because like it's not like we're going to sue them. I thought about this the other day. I was like, I think at this point the only reason that I'd ever want to be filthy rich is so that I can get into like fair use lawsuits.
Oh yeah.
And just be like
sue.
Oh yeah, just to like get this stuff on the books so this stuff can stop happening. I wish people, I mean, it's just kind of like our side of the internet. I wish more people kind of cared about that. Because unfortunately it is what it is right now. We're just sort of stuck in it until somebody makes it better. But
yeah,
we're not ad friendly and all that.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
And it's just to your point, it's ridiculous how much they do try and put out copyright claims on, as you said, things that are clearly just fair use, which is why a lot of people just resort to putting their why am I blanking on the term it's called, overlay on the video they're reviewing. Yeah,
it's not even enough, like even doing like minimal like cuts with clips or whatever. And it's stupid because the check will go through and it's like, yep, you're all good, and then a week later, or dude, and it's a weird trigger. There's almost, I don't know if this is true or not, but YouTube, I swear, has like these triggers where, say you have a video and it starts doing really well and it's getting to like 500 views, 1,000 views, and it's, or regardless, it's starting to kind of like move pretty well. I swear they go back and double check videos when they start doing that. Because it's like, okay, you said the check was good, which makes me think like I did a good enough job with the editing that this falls under fair use. And then you can just go back like a week later, and like sometimes they don't even tell us, and they're like, yeah, no, it's not good anymore. And you're like, well, what the heck, man? Like it sucks. Dude, I'm about done like streaming Naughty Dog games.
Yeah.
We get like I was playing The Last of Us multiplayer with Damien and Justin like last week or whatever, and I was like, I'll just stream. Why not? You know, it's just good to have the streams going. And we got 2 claims, and they're like, oh, it doesn't affect your video. And then I think I privated it. I was like, I'm not even going to leave this up because of that, like, because it just pisses me off. And it was like for some music that was like in the multiplayer, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like what? Like what is this? Yeah, and they're like, well, you can like cut those segments out, and I thought about doing that, and I was like, well, the video, this isn't one of those ones that I really want to keep up or whatever because it's just multiplayer. But yeah, dude, it's just so frustrating having to like deal with that all the time. Makes the creative process kind of annoying too. It's one of the reasons why like I don't play clips a lot during the live podcast stuff anymore when we're on YouTube, because it's just like, is this going to be like a headache for me later on, you know?
Well, just one problem after the other. Man.
Yeah, exactly. So it just, at least for now, it's just not really worth it. But doing like the shorts or whatever, like it's so quick that if we happen to get one and they're like being jerks about it, it's easy enough to just be like, fine, we'll just delete it, or we'll, you know, private it or whatever, and then try again or whatever the case may be. It's not. Yeah, YouTube has definitely over the years become less user friendly across the board,
and more annoying.
Yeah, and then you have to hit like certain numbers for them to even like care about you. So like you can just get completely destroyed by them if you're not popular enough, and it's dumb. Hey, anyway, sorry, enough complaining about all that stuff. Let's talk about some news, and then we'll do that for a little bit, and then we'll be done for the night. All right, Joseph, have you seen the trailer, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, for Alien Earth?
Yeah.
This was one of the things.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this is one of the things I was alluding to earlier, where these marketing teams have. I don't know who looked at that and was like, "Yeah, that's a great teaser."
Yeah.
I'm like, what is? Yeah, like what am I looking at, and why am I now like? Because maybe what it is that the marketing departments for these things, maybe they still think like Alien is this like really hot product.
Yeah.
And so,
like, oh, this is gonna be great. So
yeah,
they can just put out whatever.
Yeah, it's enough.
Not really have to think about it.
Yeah, it's enough to have like the alien like spastically running through a ship. I think it's an alien. I don't know if it's the face. It's kind of hard to tell. I'm watching it right now. It kind of looks like an alien, but it's moving like a face hugger. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Oh, maybe it is a face hugger. The face hugger's like moving through the ship really, really fast, and then it's like crashing towards Earth, and it's like Alien Earth. And then comments underneath, so the one that I saw from the other day, they were like, "Wow, can't wait! Looks amazing! Wow, looks awesome!" And then someone was like, "Well, Romulus sucked, but this looks cool. Maybe it'll be great." And
that's so good.
Yeah,
I love that.
I don't know, man.
Romulus sucked, but maybe this will be good. I remember when I had hope too.
Oh, dude. Yeah, because you forgot when I was explaining the plot to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm like, that's it? That was kind of my reaction to it. I was like, I can't tell you anything one way or the other. There's not a lot to go on, because I don't think, I mean, maybe that's an actual shot from the show, like the opening, you know?
Well, I hope not.
But it's like, are the aliens just gonna be like how did
that look to you? How did like just I
not
know,
good?
like, yeah.
I guess I should be. I don't know if I how critical I should be about it, because it's television.
And it's FX too.
Yeah, like their budget or whatever. We'll just kind of have to wait and see as far as what other stuff comes out.
Because if you think about Shogun, I mean, when they had the UCGI, it wasn't the best looking.
No, but I mean, it was sparing enough, right? I mean, it's just how you use it. People are, if what you're doing is really good, or even just like good, right? It's, people are usually willing to overlook some, especially with television shows. They're willing to overlook some like CGI that maybe isn't like top tier.
Yeah, as long as that writing's good.
Yeah. But I don't know. And that's the thing is, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to take away from the trailer other than the aliens are coming to Earth. And it's like, how does that work? Is it going to be an isolated incident? Where is this in? I can't remember. They might have mentioned where this was in the timeline, which may or may not make sense based on Alien 4, because that was like the plot of Alien 4, if I remember correctly, is that they're trying to stop the ship with all the aliens from getting to Earth. So they're just like, they're kind of, well, here we go again. They're rewriting history. I mean, we're at the point now where with Alien, like as a franchise, it's the same thing with like Indiana Jones, Star Wars, depending on when you were born, like all the stuff where you're like, Terminator. You're like, there's only 2 movies. There's only 3 movies. It's just these. None of this other stuff matters. That's how Aliens. It's felt that way for a little while, but we're really hitting that point now where it's like, oh no. There are 2 Alien movies. That's it. I was like, I might be a little generous with the Alien 3 fans and be like, y'all can probably have that one, but dude, I'm gonna watch this. Out of curiosity mostly, to see how they turn Alien into a television show. I've heard some rumors about the sort of like subtext of the show, like what they want to do with some of that stuff, and it's like,
oh yeah, what is it?
I'm pretty sure it's like I think it's like capitalism bad.
Oh no, dude. Speaking of that, the one thing I noticed with the Jackal and with some other TV shows we watched this past week and movies, can't remember them all, but man, I'm telling you, without fair, it seems to a higher degree than it should, like over representation. Like everything is going to have something. So every TV show or movie seems to have something like related to
the check boxes. Is that what you mean?
The check boxes. Yes, that's the best way to say it.
Yeah, that's why, weirdly enough, with like Wolfman, that was what was kind of surprising about it, is and why it felt like it didn't, maybe the phrase I was looking for is like, it doesn't have teeth. Like it just doesn't, it's not trying to like do much of anything, and so it doesn't really have any of that in there, and you're like, it's just a weird one, but it's not, it's one of those, it'll come and go, I don't know what I would, as far as stuff that from last year where it falls into that category. It's funny enough because I told you about that movie Heretic that I saw last year.
Yeah.
After watching this, man, I was like, man, maybe I misjudged that movie a little bit, because the acting is good in it. The characters are all interesting. They all have like without it being overdone, you learn quite a bit about who they are, and like you get an idea of their philosophies just because of the actions that they take and the things that they say, without it being just like, well, I believe blah blah blah, you know what I mean? It's not like that. They're having conversations and you're picking up on like the personality types and all that through these, and there's only like 3 characters in it. But I was thinking about it while I was watching Wolfman. I was like, man, maybe I was too harsh on that. Because it's all the stuff that isn't working in Wolfman. I'm like, all of that was actually done and done well in this. It's like, okay, like it's still, I don't think it would have made my top 3. But that movie keeps popping back into my head every once in a while, and I'm like, maybe, I don't know. There's something to that. I think some of these movies definitely deserve some credit for some of that, where it's like, all right, you made characters, like, thank you.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of ridiculous that that's where we're at to a degree, but like, thank you for making some characters that actually kind of feel real and like are relatable in some way or another, that you kind of like feel for with things that are going on. even if it's not like top tier. I kind of appreciate that, which is funny because there was a movie called Abigail that came out last year, and thinking about that too, it's like, man, it's just like I think it's one of those situations of like in certain cases I forgot that it can be like way worse.
Yeah.
You know.
You remember? Oh well, this isn't as bad as I thought because we've been getting recently has been horrible.
Yeah.
So it helps to adjust your scale.
I had a question for you because I was kind of just going through some stuff, looking at news that was getting announced, and something came across my feed. Have you ever seen the Pixar movie Soul?
Yes, I have.
Did you like it? Do you remember enough?
Man, it's been so. I do remember it. I don't know if I remember enough, but I would say. I think I remember thinking like, "This is fine. Like this is okay."
Okay. It just came across like a thing where the Pete Doctor, he's the CEO. Does that say COO? Sorry, I can't read this. He works for Pixar, and he said that he doesn't think that people talk about Soul because it didn't get a theatrical release. And I was like, I've never actually seen that movie, and so I wasn't sure if you had seen it. And I was like, I wonder if maybe I'll watch it at some point and make up my mind. But
I mean, it's not a bad movie or anything like that. I just remember thinking it's fine. I mean, it's definitely, if I remember correctly, I think it's more of like one of those musical, because obviously that's the whole idea behind it, Soul.
Right.
I could be wrong. No. I was gonna say musical movie. I can't remember it fully to be able to say that, but
okay.
It was fine.
I might check it out
behind
at some point.
Interesting concept and idea behind it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to watch it. I'll let you know. Maybe next week if I actually.
It's been so long.
Yeah. Okay. So more news. Resident Evil, Joseph, is getting another reboot.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're doing it just like with the Fantastic Four movies. Keep doing it until you strike gold, I guess.
So this will be the fourth attempt, I think. Someone will inevitably be like, actually, but I think it's the fourth attempt because you had the Mila Jovovich ones, which were, I'd say, relatively successful, even though they are very much, they're not like accurate, Yeah. And then they did that awful TV show with Lance Reddick that's got, it's one of our like most popular shorts. And then
good old Lance Reddick, man.
Then they did Welcome to Raccoon City, which was also terrible. Oh man, like I legitimately, I don't remember if I had told you about this. For whatever reason, I convinced Justin to go see Welcome to Raccoon City with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost got dizzy watching that movie. It's something about the edit. There's something about the editing in it that is, like it's bad. There's a lot wrong with that movie. No one had. That one was a weird one too because they kind of everyone sort of just like half-heartedly tries to do like lore accurate stuff. Well, except for the TV show on Netflix, that was not even clearly. I don't know what they were thinking with that, but there's always these like little details of like trying to do lore accurate stuff in there. It's like, oh, we'll throw this character with a name, or here's this actor that looks kind of like that character. We'll throw them in there, and they're just like, whatever. And this is allegedly gonna be more like lore accurate to what was going on.
Ooh.
Or and everyone's like, well, what does that mean? Like, are you guys gonna start at the beginning? People are like, well, maybe you should just jump to Resident Evil 4 because people think maybe like that's the easiest way to go about it. I don't know. We'll see. I obviously, this is something that's been attempted. I think that first one came out in 99 or maybe it was 2001. I can't quite
Dang, man.
remember. It's they have been attempting to make Resident Evil for ages at this point. And I mean, as far as like a lore accurate, like something that's like really dedicated to getting it right, they still haven't done it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I think one of the biggest problems that they have is that there is quite a bit of camp in those games, especially the earlier ones. And so I'm not sure. I mean, the safest thing that they could do would be to make a movie out of Resident Evil 7.
Oh, really? Why's that?
It's just
Because that's not my forte.
it would just.
Are they gonna make the new one more horror focused, where I'm not gonna watch it?
I don't know. I mean, like
I'll probably watch it.
Well, at their core, they're zombie movies.
Yes.
You know, or it's zombies. So I don't know a Lady D movie. She's this. The best way to explain that meme to you, Joseph, is that she is a 8-foot tall vampire that the internet fell in love with probably a little too much.
That's funny. Sounds about right.
Yeah. 7. The reason I say 7 is I would say 7 is the safe choice because the main character is very much just who you're experiencing everything through. I don't know if I would call him a blank slate fully. They try to do some stuff with him, especially in the sequel in 8. He's not a very good character, honestly, but it's about like he's looking for his wife. He goes to Louisiana, pretty sure it's Louisiana. And he ends up at this house that possibly is owned by his wife's like family. And he basically gets knocked out, and when he wakes up, he's surrounded by literally a bunch of like disgusting like kind of grotesque individuals, and they all have kind of these different personalities. And then the whole game is you like one by one sort of like learning what was going on with each one of them and like overcoming them as obstacles and then like attempting to save your wife. So it's like pretty like straightforward for the most part. And it, as far as like being able to adapt one of these easily, that's probably the easiest one. Because they, for whatever reason, a bunch of like SWAT members essentially that are going into a mansion, and they're all kind of getting taken out because like the mansion's got traps in it, and then like there's, you know, like undead Dobermans and the zombies, and there's like other creatures that have been like experimented on, and then doing it in a way that is mostly serious. For whatever reason, it's just like hard for them. Like as like you don't even need a big budget.
That Netflix show was terrible.
And that was like they were just trying to do everything so extra. You know, that show is almost a perfect example of what happens when a writer is like, "No, I can do better."
Yep.
But then they're like, "Well, it's Resident Evil, so like, well, let's throw Wesker in there. Let's make him Lance Reddick." And you're just like, what? And it's like embarrassing, dude. Like I feel bad for him. Like at what? I mean, he must have just been like locked into a contract already. But if I saw what they were like, what they did, I'd be like, oh, this was a mistake. Like I shouldn't have done this. So yeah, man, they could. I mean, Resident Evil 2 and 3 might be easier because of the settings. You have a little more to work with because it's like Raccoon City rather than just the mansion.
Right.
And then you can have a movie with like Jill, and then she's like running away from Nemesis. And so like that's the ever-present threat. And then she's also got to deal with like the zombies and some other like creatures that are involved. And then like Carlos is involved in that too. So like there's stuff that they can do. It's the same thing with 2, where you've got Leon and Oh, forgive me, everyone. Her name is slipping my mind. Chris's sister. Claire Redfield. Sorry, had a brain fart. So there's a lot of characters that they could work with, and they could skip the first one if they really wanted to, and really focus more on that stuff, and then just have like reference back to it. I think fans of the series just want to see like a faithful adaptation for once, and that's it. And they just haven't done it yet because no one has taken it seriously. So I don't know.
Got to get the right people in there, man.
Yeah, agreed. And I just don't know. The guy, if I remember, does it say it here? I'm pretty sure the guy that's doing it is, and it's actually one of the reasons I'm kind of worried about it. It's the guy that did Barbarian. So he, that movie's for me was kind of a mixed bag. I don't like the ending very much. It really falls. The movie does a really good job of like being like creepy and having good atmosphere, and sort of like throwing you for a loop with certain things. And then the last like 20 minutes or so gets super campy. And I was like, oh no. I was like, I think they kind of like missed the mark with this. Because the guy that directed it, hang on, I'm double checking to make sure this is him, but the guy that did Barbarian, I don't know if you ever watched Kids in the Hall. It was like this like sketch comedy show from a while back. I'm pretty sure he was involved with that, so like his background was in comedy, and for whatever reason there's been a lot of guys who have been in comedy that have kind of transitioned over into the more like horror side of things, and they typically kind of do well, but then there's like the stuff that makes the movie less serious, and it just kind of it's really easy to get pulled out of it because they kind of infuse a little bit of that in there. And unfortunately with the way that like, because like Barbarian and like the whole story, it's like really cool, and it's like kind of a cool like mystery going on, and there's like a really big shift about halfway through the movie that I actually think works really well. I mean, the movie practically jerks you out of the setting, and you go, what? It ends on like this crazy note about halfway through, and then all of a sudden it pulls you into this other thing that's going on, that's all connected to that still, and it works. And then you get to the end, and it just it kind of misses the mark. It sucks. The first half of that movie is very good. It builds tension very well. I think if people are like into the genre, I'd probably still recommend the movie. Like, yeah, it's still worth watching. But man, it just feels like it couldn't quite cross the finish line as good, you know? Which sucks, man, because like I really do like the first half of that movie. I think the way that they handle all of that, and like sort of the note that it leaves you on before it moves into this like other part of the story is so good. Sorry, let me see what this guy's name was. Make sure this is actually him.
Oh, you're good.
Here he is. Okay. Yeah. His name is Zachary Kreger. And yeah, he is now slated to write and direct the next Resident Evil movie. So this reboot that they're going to do. We'll see.
We shall see.
Gotta wait. Need to see a trailer at the very least. Have some sort of idea of like what their plan is. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you heard, Joseph, but Agatha All Along is not getting a season 2.
I'm not surprised. Did you also hear that the Rings of Power season 2 viewership fell by
60%?
60%.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh
man, that's too funny.
Which I think gives credence to when we were talking about that a while back, and they weren't announcing season 3. That they were in serious talks about what they were going to do about the show.
Cancellation was probably brought up.
Yeah. I think they were weighing the idea of it.
I think they will probably after season 3.
I think I think they'll they'll do season 3. That's gonna be a really interesting thing to see, because I would imagine at this point, like, any sort of like I was gonna say goodwill, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Any sort of like excitement as far as like the cast and crew, and like as this comes around, it's gonna be interesting to see how that affects season 3. Like, knowing that there was like a 60% drop in viewership between season 1 and season 2, like,
To tell them, man.
yeah, just don't. I don't. It's a weird, like.
Listen, I know some of them saw our shorts, because our shorts didn't get 1 million views, and one of them not see it. There's no way.
Oh, dude, yeah. I think about that sometimes with that Witcher TikTok, the Portal, our most successful TikTok ever.
I know Lauren saw that,
bro. Oh
there
yeah,
ain't no way, dude.
oh yeah, they're right. Yeah, the Portal thing's a problem. That's so funny.
I'll have to think about that too when we have a short that hits off. I'm like, man, if the person that created this watching this, hopefully they're taking notes. They're probably not. They're probably like,
pissed.
What are those two stupid
Yeah.
idiots?
What do they know? What do they know about portals?
They don't know jack crap about portals.
Dude, it's so stupid. Oh, dude, people were trying to convince me, because I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but it was like they were trying to convince me that it was her portal, and then it's like that wasn't even the entire argument. It was like the way that they handled it, and then like they had plenty of opportunity to kill the fire guy. Yeah. And like because they didn't, other people got killed because of it, and there just like wasn't a reason for it. I mean, that show was a mess already. But
I often wonder if like they watched that one popular one, and then I wonder what the hell they have this.
Yeah, I remember what it was. So it was Yen's portal. It wasn't originally, and this is why it's like still sort of weird.
Yes.
But she basically takes over the portal somehow, so it is her portal. And she has the ability to like close it off, and then like just decides not to do it, and there's like it was
stop being a
ridiculous.
nerd.
I need to go back.
About it,
I know. I need to go back and watch
the fantasy world's supposed to have rules, dude. It's fantasy. They can do what they want to whenever they want to, David. Come on, man.
So there's 2 other things I want to talk about before we go.
Okay.
One is a little concerning because of the Daredevil stuff. Which again, we talked about it earlier in the show with Fantastic Four. I'm curious about the new show. I don't have very high hopes, because Disney has not handled any of the characters from Daredevil who have shown up in other things. They haven't handled them well. And so there's people who are like, oh, well, the trailer's great. It looks like they, and it's like, I don't trust them. I haven't. I don't care. Like, because the trailer, you're like, okay, kind of feels like old Daredevil. That's a good thing, but I still need to see it. And then the showrunner came out, and he said the earlier show, meaning the one on Netflix, at its best was fantastic. At its worst, it was 2 characters in a room talking about what a hero is. I felt that had been done. I'm not taking swipes. I just don't want to hear characters grousing about their lot in life. And apparently he said
that cracked me up when he said, I'm not taking a swipe. It's like, hey, you absolutely suck, but I'm not taking a swipe though. I just wanted you to know.
Yeah, and his quoted as saying a lot less navel gazing than before. And I looked it up just, because definitions are kind of important, and it says the act of excessive self contemplation or self absorption, and that's not what that show is.
No,
it's not, and it's really, I think it's a bit insulting to, first of all, the actors, because people have been kind of like sharing the clips of like Daredevil and Punisher talking to each other about like who they are and their beliefs in being heroes and what that looks like. And the whole point of that is kind of to convince you that's like, yeah, they're both kind of right about a lot of the stuff that they're saying. Matt is like talking about redemption, and then Punisher is obviously taking the side of like, there are these evil people, and he's like, I remove them from the equation. And he's like, I think that I'm doing the right thing, and Daredevil's like, well, I think I'm doing the right thing, and then they're basically butting heads with each other, and it's so good. And so for the guy who's like taking up this show to be taken, I mean, he's taking a swipe at him. You can say like you're not, but calling it navel, like to say like, oh, it's fantastic, but it's definitely navel gazing, and then you're like, I don't know.
Well, that wasn't the only thing he said. He said that he like praised Penguin. He said Arthur's like Penguin, but cleaner and like meaner and smoother or something like that. And I'm like, dude, like I was gonna I was actually gonna retweet what you just said today, that he said, and I was gonna say a wise man once told me this: you don't have to disparage another in order to elevate yourself, because in doing so, you end up diminishing your own worth. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah,
like, that makes me not want to watch your stuff now. Like,
I think about this a lot.
At least, I'm sorry, I was going to say, you can't do it with something that was really, really good. Like, you can't say, like, it'd be like when they were making the Rings of Power, right, before anything ever came out about it, and they said the exact same things about Peter Jackson's. People would be put off by it. Like, sometimes you got to think before you speak, and I'm calling the kettle black there because I have a bad habit of not doing that too.
It's okay, we all do. But his quote is, "We're even more grounded," which I'm like, I don't know how, I don't know what that. Okay, like that.
Everybody wants grounded now, and I'm like,
just
give me like, I've had enough grounded. Give me some comic book like.
Well, and the thing is like Daredevil is grounded.
Yeah.
Like if we, we'll forget the Ben Affleck stuff, but like he's literally like a ground. I think they call him ground level hero. So like he's supposed to be more realistic. Like he's supposed to lose. He's supposed to get beat up. Like that's the whole point of him. It's like, what are you talking about? Like more ground. Like what? It's like, okay, we'll wait till the show comes out. It says even less stylized, which is like, dude, even more rooted in the here and now, which is scary. He says, I love Penguin. We're a little faster, meaner, cleaner in our storytelling. It's like, bro, you're saying a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you are.
Like, you're setting yourself up.
Penguin's good.
And you got to understand that people are going to, like, these are your quotes, and people are going to remember this stuff when they watch the show. And if it does not live up to that, they're going to be like, what were you talking about, man? And Disney doesn't have a good track record at this point. They just don't.
Nope.
And so it's like, this just isn't, it's not helping.
You gotta get out of your bubble.
It
sounds like a lot of bubble talking to me.
And I've heard mixed things about the first half of the show, that apparently it's like kind of all right, and then it doesn't get good till the second half. And I'm like, hearing that, I'm already like, oh no. I'm still gonna watch it. We'll see where it lands ultimately. But I've been wanting to get the physical. Amazon's got physical copies of the first three seasons. And I've been wanting to go back and watch them again because it's been a little while. So I may have to sit down and do that, because this Daredevil's in. Do I have the date for it? March 4th is when it starts. So I'm
interesting.
Yeah, I'm mostly curious about that. And then let's close out the show quickly. Okay. Joseph, we have to have a small memorial service for the Ubisoft team that made Star Wars Outlaws. They have unfortunately been shut down because their game was terrible.
Well, I actually do have the world's smallest violin on my desk. I'm getting it out right now and playing it for him. My wife got it for me as a gift. Finally, we bring back ISO.
I know. We need to do it. I need to sit down and get that.
To get it back, dude.
I know.
People miss the Wild West style.
I know. I miss the ISOs, dude. We'll do it. I'll make it a thing in 2025 to get us back on the ISO train. I know we kind of moved away from it for sure. Listen, and it's funny, like a lot of these news sites, they've been reporting this as like Ubisoft studio closes, lays off 185 staff, and we've talked about this in the past with a lot of different things because we've had people try to argue with us in the past. Well, it's like, well, a lot of people worked on that, and so now they've lost their jobs, and it's like that is how it works.
Yep.
If you
have to make a good product. If you don't make a good product, it's like saying, I worked really hard on that steak, but I gave everybody food poisoning because I didn't cook it.
Yeah, right. I made it super well done when they wanted it. They didn't want it that way. Yeah, if you're constantly doing stuff that's like not working, and as a result, no one is buying it, that's the risk that you're taking. It's like that's just how markets work. I hate to break it to people, like, and when you're in creative fields, this stuff happens. It's it's kind of interesting to see because, like, obviously, it's probably starting to hurt Disney more. I think we've seen that with like Robert Downey Jr. Being asked to come back to the MCU, as well as some of the, they're trying to get back some other people as well. The Daredevil stuff seeming to be some sort of like course correction. But yeah, man, like the game wasn't good. It was broken when it came out. People played it. They're like, at best, it's just kind of like underwhelming. At worst, it's really, really bad, which I think is the case overall. Because like I watched quite a few people play that game, dude, and like, dude, parts of that game were so bad they patched them out, like just full on like stealth stuff in that game. They put patches out for it to just remove it. And like, oh, it's just not part of the game anymore. And it's like, oh, and like, but listen. Games have bugs. Sometimes that's the case, but like when it breaks your game completely,
yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, and obviously there was a lot of controversy around it. Like they were trying to put out like this, dude. I swear, I'm gonna get the number wrong, but it was up there. It was like $130 to $150 for the like most expensive version of the game. So just it really tone deaf stuff. And Ubisoft's having. It's gonna be interesting to see because I think it's in March. They're releasing their next Assassin's Creed game. And there has been quite...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not going to be good.
Yeah, there's a bunch of controversy going on about that. And it's really funny because they released this... I think it was... Like, apparently they've been very childish in the way that their like PR team has been dealing with people talking about the game. And then someone put out a clip today that I saw on X where Ubisoft was like, wow, look at the way that like when you cut bamboo, like it slices or whatever. And someone put a clip from this game, Metal Gear Rising, it's Revengeance, I think. Metal Gear Rising. And the main character is like cutting this watermelon into like tiny little pieces, like from all these different angles. And he's like, this is a 13-year-old game. Like, what are y'all doing? And it's interesting, man, because like, and we'll close out after this. But I saw someone else because Ninja Gaiden just re-released, like Team Ninja just re-released Ninja Gaiden 2, like fully updated, like modern graphics, like it's built off of the old system, but they did a bunch of stuff. So like everything is still running the same, and people are super stoked about it. And I was watching like a clip from earlier and someone was like, this is some of the coolest gameplay. Dude, that game is from like 2011. I don't know if that's the exact right date, but it's, I think I've convinced, quite a few people of this at this point, but gaming peaked 10 years ago, pretty much. And there's been small iterations of things, and it's not to say that there haven't been good games that have come out since, but we've that as far as like graphically all this stuff, it's plateaued to a level that they're not doing anything impressive anymore for the most part. And the stuff that they are saying is impressive. I'm just like, dude, I don't care. Like, is the gameplay good?
It's almost like everything when it comes to entertainment wise is oversaturated, and there's less of a focus on quality and more of a focus on quantity.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, we've talked about it with like streaming services. that it's just like it's just slop. And like we talked about a couple of weeks ago too, just like the sequel slop.
Yep.
Like this whole year, it's just like season 2, or well, I guess we can't really count television, but it's like you look at the list of movies that are coming out, and it's all sequels. And to be fair, there are a few of them that I'm interested in, but you look at the amount that's coming out this year, and it's like, what happened? Like, you know, and it goes back to
ideas.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about before with A24 is like, hey, here's this kind of little indie flick that we're putting out. You know, maybe you'll like it, and it's like, okay. And like Mickey 17, it's like, well, it's not a sequel, and it kind of looks interesting. I was like, all right, like, you know, let's root for. It's just like we're in this timeline of like rooting for all these underdogs, to do well, because everything else that we're getting is just like, oh, more
crap.
of this. Yeah, we're doing this again. Ninja Gaiden 2. Okay, let's see when this came out. I was off by a few years. Ninja Gaiden 2 came out in 2008.
Dang.
So this is Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which is basically just like their updated version of it. 17 years. And it's like, dude, and it's so funny because I obviously I can't help myself. I get into arguments with people on X about The Last of Us a lot. And I keep running across these accounts that are just like praising the mechanics in that. And then I see Ninja Gaiden 2 or just, you know, there's some other games for sure too that come across my timeline. And you're like, dude, it doesn't hold a candle to this. Like it's bad, man. We're in a weird place with a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of the gaming industry that wants to be the movie industry, I think, a little too badly. And it's like, y'all are the bigger industry. Like, what are you doing? Like, start throwing your weight around. All right. Well, Joseph, do you have anything else that you want to add before we close the show out tonight?
That is it, my man.
Awesome. What time is it? Oh, we're doing pretty good. Awesome. All right. Well, I guess I'll have at least seen one new movie by next week. We're still, dude, everyone, forgive us. January is quite slow for this kind of stuff. I'm working on getting lists done and trying to start to knock out some stuff so that, you know, I don't mind talking about news. I was kind of happy that there's been quite a few announcements. Some of this stuff's just from today, like right before we started recording the show. I was looking at some things like that. Ubisoft announcement's pretty fresh, and then obviously all the stuff that they're talking about with Daredevil. Oh, hey, can I tell you this before we go? Okay, so Caitlin Dever, who is going to play Abby in season 2 of The Last of Us, I think I found out why they cast her.
Why's that?
So she actually, and this is kind of spoilers for that game's from like I think 2016, so it doesn't matter now. She's in Uncharted 4. She's Nathan Drake's daughter. She has like a pretty small role. She's only in like the epilogue of the game. Right. And I didn't recognize her at first, but I was like, wait, that voice is really familiar. And like you look at her character model enough, and you can tell they kind of designed the character after her. So she has history with Naughty Dog, which is why she got cast. And I didn't know that. I feel bad for her because it's like, why didn't y'all give her a role that, I mean, she looks more like Ellie than the girl you got to play Ellie.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, she's a good actress. I think she would have played the role really well. I don't know if you ever saw, she was in, what was that Tim Allen show that he did? Last Man Standing. She was one of his daughters in that. And she kind of played like a bit of a snarky character in that. You know, she's like the tomboy or tomboyish daughter. And so it's like, actually, she would have fit that role really well. So it's kind of weird the way that happened. I don't know if I feel bad for her. Apparently, she's going to be in the next Godzilla Cross Kong movie because, of course, they're making another one of those.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, Caitlin, maybe you need to get a new agent.
Right.
Maybe you need to. I mean, those movies are popular. We'll see how that one does financially this year. But yeah, we're not too far away from The Last of Us. Oh, I should write that down too. We're not too far away from The Last of Us, dude. It's
Creeping up on us.
yeah, March, right?
Yep.
Cool.
No pun intended, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, Joseph. It is a pleasure as always. Thank you to everyone who joins us live, to Troll in the Troll Room, and thank you to everyone who's been downloading the podcast. We're up to date.
Yes.
We're up to date on the audio version of the podcast finally. Try to keep that going. Gonna keep working on some shorts and see what else 2025 has to offer for us. We're not even quite out of January yet, but the next show it'll be February, and hopefully we'll have a couple more things to talk about. We'll see what's going on in the world of entertainment. But until then, Joseph, if you are good, we will wrap up the show there. So thank you everyone who tuned in to episode 197 of The Underground. And until next time, y'all take it easy.
See ya.